Welcome to the next generation list building webinar. I'm really excited to get started. So I want to get started quickly. Let me give you a quick teaser about what's going to go on here, okay? We're going to have a look at some of the major misconceptions about list building and how, you know, a lot of the list building I'm seeing when I'm doing my research is like stuck in, you know, in the last century, except it's the internet, you know, in internet time, which is sometimes that just means last year or last month. But, you know, they're stuck in the past, and we're going to look at some of these issues. We're going to look at the exact opt-in form types and the exact like opt-in form presentations, basically, that work the very best right now. I'm also going to give you a 3-step strategy. Okay, I worked a lot on this. I want to break it down to like the simplest thing you can do right now. You can take away right now and put into action to boost your own list building efforts. Okay, so I'm going to show you a lot of material here, right? So, and if you're serious about learning about this, and if you're serious about building a super profitable mailing list, then I encourage you to take notes, because we're going to go through a lot of material here. But we're also going to look at this 3-step strategy, because I know that, you know, you can't always process everything from like a 60-minute webinar. It's going to be a lot of information. So I also want to give you this 3-step strategy as something you can hold on to and do right away, as, you know, the simplest and most effective thing you can do. Everything we're going to be talking about is going to be based on real examples. I'm going to show you real examples. I'm going to show you conversion stats and tests that we ran and so on. This is all the real stuff happening right now on the cutting edge of list building. Also, at the very, very end, I will mention a special offer. Justin talked me into putting together a special offer for you guys. And listen, this is not a promotion webinar, right? This is a training webinar. If you want to make a ton of money with list building, if you want to, you know, get this lead generation part of your business right, then you will learn a lot about how to do that here. At the very end, I'm going to make an offer. Listen, if this webinar is not valuable for you, if you don't learn something new and useful here, then I insist that you leave for that part at the end, because really that's just the thing at the end. Also, I should also mention the offer that I'm making at the end is the best offer I've ever made on a webinar, okay? In fact, looking over the details as I was putting together this presentation, I doubt I'll ever make this offer again, because and I'm, you know, you probably think I'm bluffing, right? You probably think I'm bluffing. Sorry, what was that?
I was saying, you know, based on the deal that you are given, I'm pretty sure you probably killed your profit margins.
Yeah. No, I mean, it honestly, like, you probably think I'm bluffing, but actually, I looked at this offer and was like, no, this doesn't make any sense anymore. And so this is probably the only ever time. That.
Yeah. Also, at the end, I'm going to be telling my story about the 85% conversion rate, and we'll be doing a couple of question and answers. I'm going to sit back and let Shane run this thing now, though.
All right. So, very quickly, so this is, on the left is me, I'm Shane, you know Justin, and really, you know, I'm not going to tell you a long story. Like Justin said, I've been doing this for a long time. In all of the business stuff I've been doing, list building has always been a really, really central component of that. And I do not like long introductions. I'm not going to tell you, you know, the rags to riches story or some bullshit like that. It's just here you have a face to associate with the voice you're going to be hearing, and now we jump right in. So, brief warning. This is not a newbie webinar, so we are not going to go over the very basics of list building, right? Yeah, so if you aren't, I'm assuming that you're familiar with the basics of getting someone's email address and, you know, following up, doing the follow-up marketing, and like, I'm assuming you know why you'd want to be building a mailing list, and the very basics of what an opt-in form is, what a squeeze page is, and so on. We're not going to cover any of that stuff, right? We're going to go a step further. So now, the first thing I want to briefly explain. So, as you know, online marketing is constantly evolving, right? And list building is also evolving. I want to have a quick look at an evolution that happened in like the list building space. A few years ago, if you looked at blogs, everybody was trying to get RSS subscribers, and they were just bragging about their RSS subscriber numbers. And then that changed, and people started changing to trying to get people in a newsletter. And the main reason there was just because the newsletter gives you far more control, right? And better conversions, and it's just way better for the blog owner. But then what happened was that most people started, because the RSS subscription, that was the offer. It's like, hey, click here to subscribe to my RSS feed. So the first thing that people did when they made this switch is they just said, opt in here to get emails. And so that was the offer. Like the offer is, get on my mailing list and I'll send you emails. And then we're still kind of, some people are still transitioning. So you'll find a surprisingly large amount of websites that still have nothing else than an opt-in form that says subscribe to our newsletter, right? But of course, smarter marketers noticed years ago that it's much better to actually offer an opt-in incentive. So some typical thing is get a free report, right? Get a free report, get a secret bonus video, get something specific in return for the opt-in. And that is way, way more effective. But even that, like I said, right? This is something that I assume you already know. That's not news to you, that it's good to offer an opt-in incentive. But the reason I'm showing you this is because even though I'm sure you are already that far ahead that okay, I should have an opt-in incentive, while other people are still transitioning, right? Other people are still in the newsletter age. But at the same time, the opt-in incentive thing that most people are doing now is as old-fashioned as the newsletter sign-up thing and as old-fashioned as the RSS subscribe thing compared to what the smartest and the most effective list builders out there are doing right now. So what we're going to talk about is what comes next, right? What's like the next step in this evolution? And so we're going to look at, I'm going to show you many examples now of basically, it's all about building your list faster, right? Building your list faster and also getting like the right people on your list, obviously, right? You want to have like a fast growing, highly effective mailing list. And we're going to look at the strategies and tools to do that. So first, let's quickly talk about opt-in form types and triggers. So this is about what your opt-in form actually looks like and when and where it appears on your website, okay? So here's an example of, this is like the most classic opt-in form. This would be a sidebar. In WordPress, this would be a sidebar widget, right? You have an opt-in form in your sidebar. Looks like this. You've got some offer, right? Yeah, I have the opt-in incentive thing here, and then you've got the opt-in form. Okay. Pretty straightforward, right? Another very typical one is I call this the post footer form, right? So because it's at the footer of the blog post, or it's at the bottom of the blog post, right? So that's this one here. So at the end of the post, you have some offer that says, get my free report, blah, blah, sign up here. Okay. These are the most typical opt-in forms around. So you'll see these on most websites, on most blogs. You'll see either both or one of these two. Now, what you need to know about this is that it's not wrong to have these, but you should be aware that these are the weakest opt-in form locations you can have on your site, right? Of all the places you can put your opt-in form, these two are some of the weakest. These are some of the, in terms of the effectiveness, these are some of the weakest locations form. And so another very common opt-in form type is this, right? This would be a lightbox opt-in form. And a lightbox opt-in form is often incorrectly called a pop-up. All right, so I just also want to mention that, like, quite often people call this a pop-up box or something like that, but it's not actually a pop-up. It's actually a modal box or a light box that shows on top of your website. And this is, this is another like very common type of opt-in form. And well, first of all, like, raise your hand if you think opt-in light boxes are annoying, right? So that's a typical reaction you'll get from people, is they say, well, I'd rather not use lightbox opt-ins because they're annoying. They interrupt my visitor. They interrupt the visitor flow. And I don't want to do that to my visitors, right? But it turns out like this is something that's quite important if you're, again, if you care more about what's effective, then lightbox lightboxes definitely win. So as an example, from the forums I just showed you, these are all running on one of my sites, right? This widget form in the sidebar is converting at 0.32%, right? 0.32%. So that means you have to throw more than 300 visitors at this form before someone converts. It's not very effective. Then this post footer form, this is converting at 1.6%. So that's quite a bit better, but still, you know, it's not amazing, right? It's not an amazing conversion rate. And on the other hand, this Lightbox opt-in form is converting at 7.75%. So that is almost 8% conversion rate off of this, all right? So that's 24 times more effective than the widget and 5 times more effective than the post footer. That's a huge, huge difference. So briefly think about your own website, right? And if you think about what would it be like if for every 100 people that visit your site, 8 of them got on your mailing list. And we're only scratching the surface here. We're going to go way higher than this, but this is, you know, just to illustrate that, yeah, the Lightbox, it's the fact that it might annoy a few people is overshadowed by how much more effective it is than other opt-in types. And I think a lot of people aren't aware of this giant difference in conversion rates that it can cause. So that's one of the important things. But let's dig a bit deeper. So it's true that, you know, it is annoying because it's interruptive, right? It has an interruptive nature. So the Lightbox opt-in form like gets in your way. It interrupts your browsing of a website, and it's hard to ignore, right? And we can ask ourselves, well, is that part of the reason why it's more effective? And we've done some other tests that show that perhaps you can almost establish a rule that says the more annoying the thing is, the higher the conversions. So let me show an example of what I mean here. This is from a test we ran. And you can see we tested different triggers, different trigger times, right? So we have a form that shows after 10 seconds, one that shows after 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 20, 25, 30, and one that shows immediately when the page loads. And that one has the highest conversion rate, all right? So in this case, the one that shows immediately, which again, most people would say that's the most annoying one. That would be the worst, right? You come to the page and immediately the thing pops up in your face. That's the one that actually works best. So for your list building effort, that's the best one. Here's another example where we have an exit intent trigger, right? That's the top form here. This is triggered when someone tries to exit the page. And we get about 3% conversion rate. And then we have one that displays immediately, which is 60% more effective than that. And we have one that displays after 10 seconds. So that's, you know, less annoying, less interruptive, which is also more effective than exit intent quite significantly. But it's, you know, it's also about 20% less effective than the immediately loading opt-in pop-up. So if you want to be effective at building your list from your website, one of the things you have to consider and one of the things you should test is, you know, daring to be a bit annoying and interrupting your visitors and perhaps even interrupting them right away with an opt-in Lightbox. Now, does that mean that opt-in Lightboxes that appear immediately are the best kind of opt-in form and that's what you should use? No, that is not how it works. So yes, in general, in a lot of testing, we found that the pop-up type Lightbox or the Lightbox opt-in form is very effective. But there are many different kinds of opt-in forms that can be used very effectively depending on context, okay? So now we're getting a bit more, you know, into a bit more complex territory here. Before we do that, I also want to give you just like a warning disclaimer about these conversion numbers that I'm showing. I'm going to show you some conversion numbers, and I have already shown you some from various tests we ran on different sites. And these are just examples to illustrate some points we make. The danger here, and what a lot of our competitors do, is just like always formulate general rules out of everything, right? Like, so I would make some big marketing tra-ra about, you know, this type of opt-in Lightbox converts 40% better than this. And, you know, and I'd say our product creates the thing that converts 40% better, but that's not how it works in the real world, right? Because on different websites, for different audiences, in different contexts, and for different offers, different things work better, okay? The only way to really know what works best is to test. And we'll get back to that later. So I just want to just want to keep you aware of that. I'm going to show you illustrative examples, but I'm never talking about hard and fast, do this, don't do that rules. All right. All right. So the next thing I want to look at is taking that a step further. The idea of the opt-in lightbox. Again, if we have this as an example website, another type of opt-in form would be a screen filler form. Now, a screen filler form is kind of like an opt-in lightbox, but it covers the entire screen, right? So it replaces everything that's being shown on the screen with one single large opt-in form like this, right? So that takes this principle a step further, and we're basically saying, okay, well, now we're making it unignorable, right? We're making it impossible to ignore, and we're just covering the whole screen with opt-in form. And this is one way to, on the one hand, you can say, okay, we're taking that a step further. It's like even more interruptive. It's potentially even more annoying, and it's potentially more effective. But there's another aspect to this, because you can use this type of form to create what's usually called an opt-in gate, right? So an opt-in gate would be an offer that is shown on your homepage, and it is shown on the first visit to your homepage to make sure that every new visitor to the homepage sees this, clearly sees this large offer. But they can easily close that, and it doesn't take a page reload. So in a way, this is also a way to make your offer actually less annoying, right, and less interruptive, because you want to make sure that everyone sees your opt-in offer. You want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to sign up. But you don't want to, one way to do that would be to just have a squeeze page as your homepage, which means that everyone who lands on the homepage has to find a link to go somewhere else to see, let's say, your blog post, right? Whereas if this is what you offer, then you show your opt-in form to everyone, but they can just close it, by pressing ESC or by clicking the close icon, and without reloading a new page and without having to find the right link or whatever, they can directly see the content. So in a way, this is a way to present your offer in a very effective way, while making it more convenient and more pleasant for your actual visitors. Here's another opt-in form type that is actually completely different. And what I'm talking about is this ribbon at the top, right? We call this a ribbon type opt-in form. And what we have here is this can be in view all the time. So as someone's scrolling down the page, they always see this ribbon at the top. And this is where you present an offer. Now, this is a lot less interruptive because someone can keep seeing the content on your page, can keep reading your page as they're scrolling through it. And, well, what's your gut feeling? Do you think this is like a good, a high converting kind of thing? Is this a high converting kind of offer or not? On the one hand, compared to the more interruptive types, compared to the more interruptive form types, this is a lot less effective in general. But a very clever way to use this is to use it to advertise secondary and temporary offers. So for example, you have your main offer, that could be something like an opt-in gate that advertises your main opt-in offer, right? And then you have something like this that you use to advertise, for example, an upcoming webinar, which is your secondary offer. You just want to make sure that all readers are aware without, getting in their way too much. So that's a way you can use this. And also, I also have to say about the ribbon type, like I said, in general, it's less effective than the more interruptive types of forms. But we've also seen examples on certain sites where this works extremely well, even for like a normal opt-in, right? Another, I would say, often forgotten or overlooked kind of opt-in form is just having it inline in your text, okay? So the example I'm showing on the screen here is a content locking type. So where you actually lock part of your content behind an opt-in offer. You say, hey, so let's say you have an article with, I don't know, 12 tips to whatever, lose weight or something like that. And at the end of the article, you can have a logged part, or even at the beginning of the article, you can have a logged part that says, you know, enter your email address here to unlock 3 bonus tips. All right. And that can be a content logging thing. It could also be an inline form, you know, just a normal opt-in form inside your content, inside the text. And the reason this can be extremely effective is because obviously if you just put a random opt-in form inside your text, that's not going to do much. But the reason this can be very effective is when the opt-in offer, the form you show, really is integrated in your content, right? It really flows together with your content. And that's something that can make it really effective. So that's, you know, just a couple examples of how the better list builders out there are going beyond the, you know, the usual opt-in forms, beyond the default squeeze page, and using different types of opt-in forms and different types of opt-in triggers to their advantage. Now, what can we conclude from all this, right? At first glance, so a few things we can take away here is that, first of all, what I've noticed in working with, you know, people who are really, really good at list building is that they use a varied tool set, right? They go far beyond the kind of thing where it's just like, hey, I have an opt-in form on my website, right? I've got my opt-in offer, I've got my free report, I've put an opt-in form on my website that advertises my free report, job's done, right? They go far, far beyond that. Also, highly effective list builders keep testing new things, and they keep testing new techniques and new technologies and so on. And that's something that gives them a huge edge, okay? And we're talking about the difference here, you know, applying some of these ideas that I've just shown you. We're talking about a difference between having maybe a 1 to 3% conversion rate on your website or having a 10 to 15% conversion rate on your website, okay? And we've seen that. We've seen several examples of people who have like a site-wide visitor to mailing list conversion rate of 10 to 15% using various techniques and using some of the things I'm going to show you next as well. Now, before we go into that, there are a couple of things, or one thing I definitely need to address is the two-step opt-in, okay? So the two-step opt-in is something that a lot of fanfare has been made about. A lot of fuss has been made about the two-step opt-in. And for that reason, so in case you're not familiar, okay, the two-step opt-in is very simple. The step one is you click a button, and then step two is that opens a light box with the opt-in form. So instead of showing someone an opt-in form directly, you make them click on a button first that says, yes, I want this thing, and then you present them with the light box that says, to get the thing, you need to sign up here. Now, in general, this is a clever thing to do. You are exploiting a thing that's called the commitment bias by doing that, right? Because if you show someone an opt-in form right away, potentially the first thing they think is, I don't want to give you my email address. And so they leave. But if you just say, hey, click here to get this cool thing, and they say, yes, I want this thing, and then you say, well, to get the thing, you have to give me your email address. The commitment bias makes people go, okay, well, I already admitted that I want this thing. I'm already halfway there. Now all I have to do is sign up to get it. All right. So it is a clever thing. The reason I'm a bit reluctant to talk about it is because it has been quite badly mistreated. Okay, in terms of being treated as like the miracle that will get you more opt-ins, right? And so the thing is, look, it's worth testing. It's not a bad thing, right? Especially for like inline kind of offers. This is a good thing to do. But I'm just reluctant to add to the hype train that tries to give you the impression that two-step opt-ins are this amazing thing, right? It's just one other thing worth testing. Now, but let me tell you something that I'm more excited about than two-step opt-ins. First, there's another thing which is called multi-step opt-ins, which is slightly different, okay? Multi-step opt-ins are slightly different, but employ the same kind of psychology. So a multi-step opt-in form would look like this. So this could be, again, a lightbox opt-in form that shows on a site. And at first, all it shows you is the offer, right? It says, whatever, in this case, get our free report type thing. And there's a big button that says, yes, send me this thing. And when you click the button, it switches to this, right? So the same form, and this is the key here, the same form, without reloading anything, without loading a new page or anything like that, instantly switches to this, which basically says, okay, to get the thing you just told me that you want, enter your email address here, and then you can download it, right? So this is employing the same strategy within a form without reloading, okay? Within a form without reloading. So that's slightly different. Also not super exciting. This one is one I really like, the multiple choice opt-in, okay? So this is something that you might have also seen around that can work extremely well. Now let me show you the first kind of version of a multi-step opt-in. Very, very simple. So you start with a very simple question. Do you want to get more customers? Okay. And there's a multiple choice. So there's in this case, a yes or no choice. Do you want more customers? Yes or no. Now, if someone clicks on the no button, that just closes the opt-in form. If someone clicks on the yes button, that takes them to the next step where it says, and here you advertise your offer. Okay, so an important difference here is that you don't start by advertising your offer. You start by asking a question, right? Do you want this benefit? Do you want this outcome? And then once someone says, yeah, I do want that, you say, well, you can get this benefit by whatever, downloading our free report or going through our secret training video or something. And here's how you get it, right? Sign up. So that would be a multiple choice opt-in form. Here's another example of a multiple choice opt-in form. Same idea, right? Do you want more email subscribers? Yes or no? And here we're also employing design to, to nudge people towards the choice we want them to make, obviously, right? That yes button looks much nicer than the no button. Another thing we're doing here, right? We have this, we have a bit of text here that says, yes, I want to have a rapidly growing super profitable.
If you'd like to learn more about how to use paid traffic and analytics to scale your business, subscribe to the AdSkills channel so you'll be notified every time new content is released. If you'd like to learn more about the topic we just discussed, check out the related video we're posting right now.